Hello, great people. The Northern Alliance against President Bola Tinubu and the conflict between him and the former governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, is taking a new dimension. Nasir El-Rufai has told President Bola Tinubu to stop being arrogant and to stop practicing the politics of exclusion. This is the second time that a northern political elite, high-ranking political elite at that, will call Bola Tinubu arrogant. You will recall that the governor of Bauchi State recently told Bola Tinubu to stop being arrogant and listen to the North as regards the tax reform bill. And now, Nasir El-Rufai is telling Bola Tinubu to stop being arrogant. But this is based on appointment. The one of the governor of Bauchi State, Bala Mohammed, is based on the tax reform, while that of Nasir El-Rufai is based on the appointment of Bola Tinubu. But both have used the word arrogant. Now, why did Nasir El-Rufai told Bola Tinubu to stop being arrogant? Let me give you the genesis of it, and we'll now analyze all the issues surrounding it. Now, Farooq Kperogi, a professor in the United States, he usually writes all these media articles, I think for Tribune. So he wrote an article as regards Bola Tinubu's Yoruba-centrism, if I can use that word, that Bola Tinubu is too Yoruba-centric in his appointment, and he tried to compare him to the era of Buhari, that Buhari was very nepotistic, and he spoke against Buhari, and now he holds himself to speak against the nepotism of Bola Tinubu. Farooq Kperogi said that a Yoruba man that who happens to be his friend and confidant expressed serious concern to him about Bola Tinubu's nepotism, how he's fixing Yoruba people into key position. And Farooq Kperogi, as a writer, made a media article out of it. Now, Nasir El-Rufai now shared that particular media article, and he now wrote something on it, taking a terrible swipe at Bola Tinubu. Nasir El-Rufai said, and I quote, he said, "Two wrongs do not make a right. Sensible inclusion always triumph arrogant exclusion." Again, I read that again. Two wrongs do not make a right. Sensible inclusion always triumphs arrogant exclusion. He said a lot of things, but I just pick out this quote. Now, why did Nasir El-Rufai says two wrongs do not make a right? Nasir El-Rufai is trying to tell Bola Tinubu that, okay, Buhari has done what is wrong. Now, you should not continue in that particular manner. You should deviate from the Buhari attitude and be more national rather than sectional. But is Nasir El-Rufai correct? Because somebody like Shehu Sani has taken a swipe at Nasir El-Rufai that, my friend, keep quiet. Shut up there. May Chonu give you there. You are only speaking because Bola Tinubu has not favored you. Truly, Bola Tinubu has not favored Nasir El-Rufai, because you will recall that Bola Tinubu nominated El-Rufai as a minister, but the National Assembly failed to ratify the appointment. And Nasir El-Rufai believed that with the strong influence, the strong hold that Bola Tinubu has on Tinubu's will, God's will Akpabio, Nasir El-Rufai believes that Bola Tinubu can always have his way to get him ratified as a minister if he truly wants to. So Nasir El-Rufai thinks that Bola Tinubu just wants to disgracing him by nominating him and having him dropped by the National Assembly. Now, let us look at some important issues as regards this. First, I must say that, you see, we really need to discontinue sectional politics and lopsided appointment. I need to say this before I go further, so that you know my stand, that I'm not in support of sectional politics, and I'm not in support of lopsided appointment. We need to deviate from it if Nigeria is to move forward. Appointment should be by merit. And I'm coming to the argument that was made during the Buhari regime, when Buhari was practicing his nepotism. What the argument then was that, oh, it is merit, that Buhari is appointing based on merit. And you ask yourself that, Buhari, is it only the North that are meritorious, that have the required skills and knowledge? Are they the only ones that can take Nigeria for where it is to where it ought to be? So the southern people, are they full of dull brains? That is the same argument that the Tinubu boys are now using to counter people that are against the actions of Tinubu. You see, one thing that you need to realize in this government of Tinubu is that, you see, there's a lot of behind the scene politics, and the Tinubu boys have determined that anything that happened during Buhari time, the tenure that just ended, if we do it, we never commit any crime. Especially if Nigerians, if the North tolerated it during Buhari, then you cannot now condemn it during Tinubu's time. You will recall that during Buhari's time, the North was occupying the head of the three arms of government. The legislature was headed by Ahmed Lawan. The judiciary was headed by the tanko driver, the plane driver, retired Justice Tanko, and the executive was headed by Buhari, all not. Now, we can exclude the judiciary because it is when the Chief Justice of Nigeria reaches his retirement age or his years of service, is required years of service, he needs to bow out. But then that of the executive and the legislature cannot be excused. So if during Buhari time, two northerners can be the head of the executive and also lead the legislature, because the Senate president is the head of the legislative arm of government. Now, it can also happen during Tinubu's time that a southerner can be president and a southerner can also be the head of the legislative arm of government. You see, in life, it's always good to be fair and don't always be greedy, because when you are being greedy, it can favor you at first, but at the end of the day, you will end up crying. The balance of power that the North needs is what they are not having now. So if they are behaved during the Buhari era, by now the Senate president that will determine whether that bill, that tax reform bill, is passed or not, the Senate president that will ratify the appointment made by Tinubu will be a northerner. So there will be a balance of force. There will be like an equilibrium point. They will always meet at a middle ground. But since we now don't do anyhow during Buhari time, now just use it to favor Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and Bola Ahmed Tinubu can decide to do as he wish, because you see, Nasir El-Rufai can make noise from now till tomorrow. Akpabio cannot go against the wish of Bola Ahmed Tinubu because he is enjoying as Senate president, and he wants to have a second term as Senate president if Bola Ahmed Tinubu wins. Now, Justice Kudirat Kekereekun is from Lagos. Now, if I can use that word, Tinubu's girl. She's from Lagos. So, if you do anyhow, you go to the judiciary and you will meet Justice Kudirat Kekereekun there. So, you see, Nasir El-Rufai is just making a lot of noise. And that's why I said I'm not in support of sectional politics. But if you look at the personality of El-Rufai, you will see that he's just making noise for no reason, because these are the people that supported Buhari's nepotism, that supported Buhari's ethnocentrism. The Buhari that would not give a Niger Delta people, the people of Niger Delta, a reasonable slot in his government, use the oil in the Niger Delta as collateral for loan. You can imagine that. He used it as collateral for loan, and all of them, they kept quiet. So Buhari's appointment of only Northern Muslim for 8 years was not argued by this Northern elite. They were arguing that merit is prevailing. The likes of El-Rufai, when Buhari was president, they can literally die for Buhari. If you say anything against Buhari, the way they will come out at you. Now, Bola Ahmed Tinubu has not used up to 2 years. He has not even done up to the nepotism of Buhari. You remember the DSS recruitment when Buhari was president, and they I think picked people from, is it Kaduna or Katsina or both, that the DSS personnel that were recruited from that state was more than that of the entire Southeast. You can imagine that, and these people, they were cheering Buhari, they were Buhari's cheerleader at that time. So you can see, with apologies to people of the north that feel otherwise, but you can see the northern elite hypocrisy and inconsistency as regards the tax reform and as regards the appointment as done by Bola Ahmed Tinubu, although I believe that Bola Ahmed Tinubu should be national and not sectional. Buhari's nepotism is what paved the way for Bola Ahmed Tinubu to be acting the way he's doing. The Buhari's nepotism is what set the dangerous precedence for Bola Ahmed Tinubu to just think he can be appointing Yoruba people. See, I am a Yoruba man, but I can tell you for free, I've mingled with different Nigerians. And I can tell you that it's not only Yoruba people that are intelligent. If you find an intelligent Yoruba man, you find an intelligent Igbo man, an intelligent Hausa man, an intelligent Ijo man, an intelligent Ibibio man, Efik man, Urobo man. Nigeria is full of brains, it's full of potential. So you cannot now sectionalize Nigeria, and anything that relates to money, finance, you don't be putting Yoruba people there. No, try and balance the equation. So if you look at it to some extent, Nasir El-Rufai has a point, but then he's not qualified to speak. Leave that speaking for people like me, that I am not, I didn't benefit anything from the Buhari government. Leave that speaking for people like my politicers that are watching me. Those are the people that have the high moral ground to speak on matters like this, not you, that you are one of the cheerleaders of Buhari. And one thing that I can tell Nasir El-Rufai is that, you see, you need to be very, very careful, Nasir El-Rufai. You cannot worship Buhari and be denigrating Tinubu. Tinubu will deal with you at the right time. The Tinubu boys will come for you at the right time. And don't forget that you don't have the best of relationship with the current Kaduna State Governor and the National Assembly. So if they go and, unearth anything against you regarding your administration, and they decide to use EFCC as an attack dog against you, my brother, you go take for prison. That is just the truth. So be very careful. And if you want to do anything against Bola Ahmed Tinubu, be very strategic, that let it be towards the election. Because if he wants to use his presidential powers against you, definitely you find yourself in trouble. And you know that there are some video recordings with the DSS as regards some of the things that happened in Southern Kaduna, and the way that bloodbath happened in Southern Kaduna, and the evils that were committed in Kaduna against Christians during your reign. So be very careful how you come for Bola Ahmed Tinubu, because if your hands are not totally clean, if Bola Ahmed Tinubu decide to come for you, you will be very, very sorry. What this has just taught us in life is that in life, we should always be fair, because what goes round comes around. What favors you today may come back to hurt you tomorrow. So always try to create an atmosphere of fairness, so that whoever is in power, a good standard, a good precedent would have been set in such a way that that person cannot deviate from that standard and precedence. It's been an interesting time with you on this episode of Politing with Dr. Omoshola Deji. Dr. Deji is a political scientist with a PhD in political science, and this is where we relax to analyze politics and happenings in the polity. Do well to subscribe, turn on your notification button, catch up with my past videos, and of course, I have great interesting videos coming your way. Till I see you again, always remember that I love you all sincerely.